Billy, you won this event last year in the Manta. How do you think it's going to be in the Porsche?
Well, a bit hard to say. I'm a little bit conscious that I haven't driven since Donegal, which is 3.5 months ago. So I'd say it'll take me a while to get going this morning, but we'll see how it goes anyway.
What about your practice? Were you happy with that?
I was happy enough, yeah. But as I said, the main thing is that I'm just a bit rusty on the driving, and it's been 3 months.
I'm sure you'll get over that, Billy. Thank you.
Together with
Austin, you're the current leader of the Irish Tarmac Championship. Bearing this in mind, will you be more interested in the finish other than an outright win?
Yeah, quite obviously, as the championship is our main priority, we will be going to try and finish the championship this weekend. But that's not to say that we're going to go and try and win the rally as well. You know, we'll be careful, but we'll still go fairly quick.
You said previously that you don't fancy pace notes. Have you changed your view on that at all?
I'm getting more experienced on pace notes now. We have done 5 events already this year, and they have all been pace note events. So I'm getting much more experience on them and getting more confident.
Well, we wish you the very best for the weekend, Austin. Thank you.
Here is Brendan Fagan. Remember that Austin will be joining me at the Rally Forum this evening here at
10:17 a.m. Saturday, October 5th. And Billy Coleman powers the Rothmans Porsche away from the start line of the 1985 Uniroyal Cork 20 Rally. Billy, who earlier in the year had won the Shell Oil's Donegal International, was hoping for a second consecutive win on his home event. Austin McHale, the man who Coleman had beaten into second place in Donegal by a mere second, was seated at number 2. 12 precious Irish Tarmac Championship points were utmost in Austin's mind. But the young Dubliner also had a few scores to settle, and a win here in the Deep South would do just that. A lot of interest surrounded the entry of Brendan Fagan in the Volta Lancia Rally. Many people thought that if anybody was going to upset the plans of the Porsche and the Opel, then the Italian supercar was the one to do it. AJ Keating was having his first international outing in the ex-Bertie Fisher Opel Manta 400. Started the event seated at number 5. The always spectacular Kenny McKinstry started at 9. He was partnered by Mark Crowe. They were followed by Ballybofey's Pat Dunyan in the Lotus Sunbeam. Carrignavar had totally rebuilt the Escort's engine for the rally. His confidence was high after his recent win in Wexford. He was followed by Belfast's Dan Daly in the print and display Nissan 240 RS. While the RS 800 of Letterkenny's James Cullen was seated at 11. The Uniroyal Cork 20 was held on Saturday, October 5th and Sunday, October 6th, and in common with other Irish internationals, pace notes were permitted. As in 1984, Jury's Hotel on the Western Road was used as rally headquarters, from where the 62 cars that started the event left the start ramp at 10 a.m. on Saturday. The Saturday route consisted of 3 laps of 4 stages in the Glenville-Fermoy area, to the north and east of Cork. Coleman, who was having his first rally in 4 months, was a little bit slow getting started and was 7 seconds slower than McHale on the first stage. But after that, he started to get into the swing of things. McHale's Opel was gradually being left behind, as it could not match the top speed of the Porsche. Keating had a too low ratio axle fitted and was losing a lot of time, and is now coming under tremendous pressure from a hard-charging Frank Marr. Dan Daly in the Nissan was well inside the top 10. As was the Sunbeam Lotus of Ian Donaldson. The Honda Civic of John Lyons was exciting everybody with its amazing burst of speed. While Barry Duggan was destined to have a very short rally in the Escort. 27 seconds. Austin complaining that he is just running out of revs on the long straights. Keating was still 5th, despite putting the Manta into a hedge on stage 4. Maher is steady 3rd, even though his new engine was slightly overheating. Pat Junion had a puncture on stage 3 and lost more time here when the electronic ignition packed in. He was finally forced to retire when he put the sunbeam on his roof. McKinstry was 4th, despite losing a lot of time due to all sorts of niggly clutch problems. Fagan is finding 6th with Lancia due to his sticky gearbox. The doubler found the handling of the car very difficult in the tighter sections. Donaldson, who was well inside the top 10 at this point, was forced to weigh down the leaderboard due to faulty electrics further down this stage. While John Lyons was still giving all he'd got in the Honda and now had Class 7 fairly well under wraps. Kieran McAlennan in the Manta had a lot of trouble getting past the Jaguar of Keith Edwards and had lost quite a lot of time as a result. Barry Duggan's comment at service, "The stages are faster than my car," summed up in a nutshell what the Saturday run was all about. Mal Stewart was lying 5th in Group A, but had a lot of problems due to the drive shaft of the Escort Turbo. Malcolm Wise, clouted a bridge on the first stage, was now battling with brake and clutch problems. Paddy and Oliver Colley from Mallow were doing nicely in the Samba. By now, the list of retirements were beginning to grow. Already out was David Mead in the Escort. Joe Butler retired his Opel Manta with a blown clutch. David Gould was forced out when the Toyota Corolla blew yet another engine. The battle at the top continues with vengeance. Coleman's only problem was with his rear brakes, which were cued at service by changing the rear calipers. Mchale too had problems with his rear brakes when the adjuster seized. Keating still short of top speed, a steady 5th. Ken McKinstry and Frank Maher were having their own duel for 3rd and 4th places, but after 7 stages were almost 5 minutes off the leaders. Fagan's problems continued with the gearbox again jammed in 3rd gear. Dan Daly did the Nissan's gearbox no good when he jammed it in 3rd at the hairpin in Ballyhooly. Martin Daly, who had been going well in Class 10, lost some time when they had to stop to change this puncture. Coleman by now has his brake problems sorted out and has been fastest on stages 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. Mchale has been struggling with the brake balance bar and is now almost 1 minute behind Coleman. McKinstry driving at 10/10ths, completely overshot at this junction. Luckily, the escape route had been kept clear, thus avoiding a very serious situation. As Coleman goes through the final Saturday stage, he has now extended his lead to over a minute. Mchale, for his part, has been driving at 10/10ths all day, but still has to settle for second place overnight. Maher leads the other rally in third place, but at the end of day one is almost 8 minutes off the pace. Ken McKinstry fourth and pressing. AJ Keating a steady fifth. The Lancia rally at Fagan sixth. The Dublin motorcycle dealer hoping that something could be done on the final service of the day to improve the car's handling. The list of retirements continue to grow. Mill Street's Barry Duggan went out after stage 11 when the Escort's engine cried enough. Also out with engine problems went Glengormley's Richard Hall. The Alamac Opel Manta of Kieran McAlannon also called it a day with a broken camshaft. But Val Stewart ends the day in a spectacular note.
Get up the road, somebody, get up the road!
Get up the road,
This goes to show just how fast an accident can happen. Thankfully, vigilant marshals had kept spectators at a safe vantage point. Neither Mal or co-driver Graham Hanley were injured. Nothing more than a few bent panels and dented pride. Let's have another look. Oh.
Get up the road, somebody, get up!
At a minute in Austin. At the start this morning, Austin was quicker than us in the first stage, and then he won 2 or 3 stages during the day, but we've been quickest on all the rest. So, well, it doesn't really surprise us. Like, Austin's going quite well too, but a minute is not a tremendous amount of time over. We've done, I think, 165 stage miles today, so it's not actually a lot of time at all.
First Sunday stage, Kilmurray Village. Billy Coleman heads the field, 1 minute 9 seconds ahead of his nearest rival, Austin McHale. Saturday stages were wide and fast, but Sunday was a completely different ballgame, with the stages a lot narrower and twisty. Everybody's eyes were on McHale to see if the Manta could close the gap on the Porsche. The Escort of Frank Maher, a splendid third. Ken McKinstry fourth, but only 1 minute 18 seconds behind Maher. AJ Keating was a safe fifth. Brendan Fagan, despite all his problems, was sixth. James Cullen, after a frustrating day on Saturday, was eighth. The Nissan of Dan Daly, 7th. David Appleby and Russell Bolton in the Big Rover were 9th overall and leads Group A. While the Escort of Leo and Kevin Shaw made up the top 10. Stage 14, Luckaloo. His lead has been reduced by 8 seconds on the Kilmurray stage. McHale, with a low ratio axle fitted, has the bit now between his teeth. Tipperary's Frank Maher, who has been third overnight, is now forced to stop and change a rear wheel puncture, dropping over 2 minutes in the process. The misfortunes of Maher meant that Ken McKinstry was now up to third. Fortunately for Maher, a large crowd of spectators were available to lend a helping hand and made sure that he dropped back only to 4th. Day 2 consisted of 3 stages in the Macroom area, each tackled 3 times, and included such classics as Kilmurray Village and Lochaluwa, which incidentally was sponsored by well-known competitor Michael Corkery of Ballingarry. The 3rd stage was the tried and tested Ballyvoig. The day started dry but dull, and the threatening clouds overhead gave notice of the heavy showers that were to come. Special Stage 15, Ballyvoig. Rally leader Billy Coleman has a rear wheel puncture in the Rothmans Porsche and dropped 17 seconds to Austin McHale in the dealer Opel Team Ireland car. The gap between the Porsche and the Manta was now down to 45 seconds. Banbridge's Ken McKinstry has had his clutch problem sorted out by now. Took full advantage of Frank Maher's earlier misfortune to move up to 3rd place. The young Tipperary driver reckoned his place could be regained, a tall order against non-foreign McKinstry. AJ Keating seemed destined to finish 5th from the very start. Dan Daly inherited 6th place when the Lancia Rally of Fagan plunged well off the road and into the bushes on stage 14, while David Appleby still led Group A. And Fagan, after all your problems yesterday, we were forced to retire this morning. What exactly happened?
We came over a medium leftover crest and there was a little stream of water flowing down the road. We were on slick tyres because we hadn't the suitable Pirelli intermediates, and the car just spun backwards at about 45-50 miles an hour and straight back into a ditch, and it took us a tractor with a big hoist to get it out.
What about the future events this year? Maybe again on the Lancia?
There'll be no more rallies now. We won't be rallying this year again, but I'm very hopeful that we will be running a Lancia next year. Certainly Fiat Ireland are very, very anxious to be involved, and I'm going to do my best to get it in.
Hope you'll succeed, Brendan. Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot.
Both Coleman and Mchale left the Matroom service area on hand-cut slick tyres for the second loop of stages. An ideal choice for the Kilmurry test, where again Mchale gained a further 8 seconds. At the start of the Loughaloo stage, the heavens opened, causing all sorts of problems. But here, Coleman stretched his lead by 2 seconds. It was going to be a dig-dong struggle to the finish. McKinstry lost some time with steering problems, but was still able to keep fourth-place man Frank Maher at bay. AJ Keating, despite some hairy moments earlier on, was still fifth. James Cullen, who had tackled the long Loughaloo stage on slicks, also had no brakes, described the stage as the hairiest he had ever driven. He was putting tremendous pressure on Dan Daly for 6th place. The general consensus of opinion at this point in time is that Coleman's lead was 30 seconds plus, and that would be sufficient to see him through. But Mchale had different things in mind and was driving like a man possessed. Austin, you've been taking time back off of Billy all morning. Do you think it's possible to get there in the finish?
We've been very cautious. I think we've been fastest over the first 5 stages this morning. Billy would take 2 seconds off us there in the last one. But obviously we still have to keep the championship in mind. You know, we're going sort of 8/10, and if the conditions get any worse, you know, it's giving an awful lot better chance. But the way things are going at the moment, like, he's still 33 or 35 seconds ahead of us.
Bill, 35 seconds of a lead, 3 stages to go. What's your tactics from here on?
Oh, I won't change my tactics. Not taking any chances, and you know, I think we'd make it.
The stages are very, very slippery. Has that been causing you problems?
Well, today isn't really Porsche country. You know, it's very bumpy as well in places, and but I mean, we'll drop you a bit of time, but not enough that he can catch up. I think if we can just maintain that pace, we should be okay.
Well, we hope to see you in juries later on. Thanks, Billy.
Hopefully. Thank you.
Take care. As Coleman powers the Porsche through the final 3 stages, the exact situation is beginning to filter through. Both Coleman and Mchale were of the opinion that the gap between them was 33 seconds, but in fact it was a very slender 3 seconds. The confusion arose from the time allocated to Mchale on stage 14, Loughaloo, when the Manta started 90 seconds instead of 60 behind Coleman's Porsche. Mchale hurled the Manta over the bumpy, winding 19-miler and was no less than 29 seconds quicker than Coleman, who was waiting at the end of the stage to see the Manta checking in 61 seconds behind. He automatically assumed that he'd been 1 second faster. Instead, they had dropped 29 seconds. On the final Kilmurry stage, Mchale gained a further 16 seconds and the lead with 2 stages to go. Mchale extended his lead by 5 seconds over the final Loughaloo stage, which meant that he had an 18-second advantage starting the final stage, for which Billy put in a special effort, gaining 10 seconds on his arch rival. But it was not enough to stop Austin gaining his 2nd international win in Cork. Cork Video Services would like to thank the following for their assistance in the making of this video. The Munster Motorcycle and Car Club, Clerk of the Course Brian Curtin, Assistant Clerk of the Course Alan Verso, Carol Levis, Brian and Liz Patterson, the Marshals and of course the drivers. So let's have our final look at the top finishers in the 1985 Uniroyal Cork 20 Rally. Ross and McCusker won Group A when Appleby's Rover was slowed by gearbox problems over the final 3 stages. 10th, Tommy MacDonald and Seamus Boyle. 9th, Leo and Kieran Shaw. 8th overall was Ian Donaldson and Kim Bannister. 7th overall, Dan Daly and Robbie Philpott. 6th overall, James Cullen and Rory Kennedy. 5th, Asia Keating and Fergus Connolly. 4th, Frank Maher, Niall Sweeney. But to the top 3. Ken McKinstry and Mark Crowe bought the Escort home in 3rd position after a frustrating start. The Banbridge lawnmower expert, despite numerous mechanical problems, proved yet again what a determined and talented driver he really is. And this top 3 finish put him in 2nd place in the Irish Tarmac Championship. But the 1985 Uniroyal Cork 20 Rally was definitely a 2-horse race. 2nd place was poor consolation for the talented Coleman. It must have been a bitter pill to swallow for Billy, bearing in mind the circumstances in which he was beaten. It is hard to avoid the conclusion that Coleman would have found the necessary 9 seconds had he been aware of his true position. What a brilliant drive it was from McHale. He carried the battle to Coleman on the latter's home territory, refusing to settle merely for the championship. This has been another Cork Video Services production, produced and directed by Flor Griffin, commentary by Michael White. We leave you with these pictures of Austin McHale, the 1985 Irish Tarmac Rally champion.